flosstube friends. Today we are filming from yet again another location. So I'm being on my bestest behaviour and ensuring that I don't do what I've done or what I did the other day. So the day that I done my my update video just to for my gifts and health and bits and pieces, I actually done from my dining room table. On obviously sitting on that chair for as long as it took to do the video, as well as obviously the visitors that had come, and obviously I'd been on my feet to sort of meet them and greet them. I overdone it, and I paid for it. So as I've learnt my lesson, I thought today I would film from the recliner chair. So I actually have my feet up, resting, which is what I'm supposed to be doing. So, but as promised, I said that I would do a tag video of some tag questions that I've been thinking of, basically for like an end of year. So this is going to be the Teresa end of year tag. For me, this is a big thing because this is really my first ever whole year of cross stitching. So I thought for me this was the perfect type of tag. Because it gets me to answer questions and hear from other people if their experiences are actually no different to mine, through people that have stitched for ages and years, and for those that are fairly new to it, such as myself. So this is the Teresa end of year tag. Okay, so question number 1. What is the most useful tip you have ever got from watching the flosstube community? The most useful tip I've ever had was obviously the parking method. So for me, that was the piece de resistance. That was the no of all no's, because that's the only way that I can stitch now. I can't do it without parking, and if I do, I find it really hard and confusing because it's not the way that I've taught myself to do it. So for me, it's parking, but also the pin stitch. So Caroline Mazzio done a tutorial on the pin stitch for like just single stitches on their own, but also that you can start a thread that way. So if you've got a single thread, you can start your thread that way. So for me that was amazing, and that was probably one of the most useful tips. And I put it to good use over the last sort of few months since you done it. I've used it a number of times. So and the only other thing which was again a really helpful tip was switching out the DMC 310 black. So when I was stitching on the black, specifically on my faces project, I tend to find that some of the black areas, it was a little bit sparse. It was almost as if the black was a little bit thin in comparison to the other colours. And I got a tip off of the flosstube community basically saying, switch out the DMC 310 black and try the anchor. So I went and bought a skein of anchor and tried it, and I have to be honest, I saw the difference straight away. The anchor gave me much better coverage, and the stitches were, I think it was because the anchor floss is a little bit more fluffy. Not a lot, but just a little bit more fluffy, which just gave me just that little bit of extra coverage. So yeah, so they're my most useful tips that I've ever got from the flosstube community. Number 2, what is the best cross-stitch related thing you have learnt this year? Well, for me, that would be stitching 2/2 on even weave. I was actually really quite scared of it, or even the thought of it, before I actually did it. And even when I got, because the project that I've actually learnt to stitch 2/2 on even weave with is my Mirabilia, is my Roses of Provence. So for me that was a big thing, and initially I sort of confused myself with it. You'd think it wouldn't be that difficult, but I actually at first, it took a lot of perseverance, frustration to always count the 2, because it's 2 threads, 3 holes for me. So I'd end up confusing have I counted, is it 2 holes or is it 3 holes or is it, and then obviously then when you sort of got to do a whole full cross, until you've got one in, it was sort of, at first I just found it really, really tricky. It just really wasn't very easy for me personally to just switch from like an Ada fabric to an even weave and then to stitch 2 over 2 on it. It was more the over 2 bit that I think actually confused me. So yeah, so that is the best cross stitch related thing that I've learnt this year. Number 3, based on 2015, what have you learnt that you will not do in 2016, if anything? For me, I think it will be to not have any time restraints or feel that I need to persevere with a project that I'm just not feeling the love with. I mean, my Alexander Adelaide project, you know, I knew straight away that I didn't like that fabric, but I tried to persevere, and the more I persevered, the more it put me off. So no, I won't do that again. If I start stitching something and it's just not working for me, I'm going to accept defeat. Inevitably, I think with me, it's going to be that I either don't like the fabric or I don't like the pattern. Normally it will be something where it's like, well, I don't really like it to start with. So I'm hoping that's the reason, was that because I was not overly keen on the fabric when it first turned up, because it wasn't what I was originally expecting. I think that was the reason that I was actually really disappointed and really didn't have any interest in stitching it. The time restraints, I'm awful at this. You know, if I don't get enough stitching time in as I want or would like, or feel that I'm not actually sort of breaking any barriers through a project, I tend to find that I get frustrated because I'm not stitching on it as much as I want to, or I've not got to that point by that time. So I'm not going to do that anymore. I don't think it was a conscious effort. I just always like to make sure that I had good progress. I like to see my progress in the week and think, yeah, you know, I made really good headway on that. And I think I need to just try 2016 to just not do that and just be like, you know, if you only get 2 stitches in it, Teresa, that's 2 stitches more than you had last week. So yeah, so I'm just not going to give myself any type of time restraints. Obviously, if I decide that I'm going to do a card or I'm going to do a present of some description, then I'll make sure that I've given myself, you know, if reasonably it only needs a month's worth of stitching in it, I'll give myself 3 months worth of stitching time, so that way there's no pressure. Because I find that if I feel like I'm pressurizing myself into doing it, it just takes the fun out of it for me. So yeah, so that's what I've learned from 2015 and what I'm going to take forward with me in 2016. What are your favourite floss tube videos to watch? Updates, hauls, stash videos, tags, tutorials, or just watching someone stitch? I was thinking about this. Now for me, I sort of like all of them. The tutorial videos obviously pop right out there for me, but that's because I'm still learning so much. So as soon as I see a new tutorial, it's, oh, I've got to watch that because that's something else I can learn. It is like, I suppose, in sort of some respects, I'm like the sponge of cross stitch, because whereas other people might have already got some background knowledge or have had some experience of doing it, so when a tutorial comes along, it's just, does someone do it slightly differently to you? But for me, it's oh wow, you can do this, or oh wow, look what that, you know, how you do that. So yeah, tutorial videos are way up there for me, because obviously they're teaching me like face on, where I can see how it's done, I can see what you do, how you do it, and how you get to that. But also, I mean, the update videos, I love update videos. Because it's all very well and good looking at people's stash and people's haul when they're showing pictures. But as we all know, it's things like the Celtic Ladies and the Mirabilias, so the lavender and lace and the Nora Corbetts and the Mirabilias. What it looks like on the picture is not what it looks like when it's stitched. So me being the nosy little person that I am, I love to see it when people are already stitching it. That's what gives me the that's what makes you all enablers to me, is when I'm watching the videos and you sort of see a picture of it, it's like, oh yeah, that's nice, and then you see someone hold up their, you know, their work in progress and you're like, wow, check out the colours on that. So yeah, so update videos, love those. Stash videos, I like to know what people have got because I'm nosy. So although they're up there, not as up there as the other two, but I do like to see what people have got in their, you know, in their drawers and in their cupboards. You know, it does make me feel like I've not really got anything, if I'm honest. But no, I'm nosy, so I like those. The just watching someone stitch, I loved that. There was someone that done a video, and I can't remember for the life of me who she is, and I know her. And if I saw a picture in front of me now, I could tell you what her name was, but I can't remember. So in a minute, you will see a little thing come up on your screen along there, where I've actually reminded myself, and I'll type it in for you who done it. But it was great. There was two specific ones. There was one where she was answering tag questions and she was stitching. That was one lady. And the other one was literally her just sitting there stitching. No talking, not a word, not a peep. And the only thing that you could hear was that adorably divine noise of needle going through fabric, taut fabric with the thread. That was the only thing you could hear. I found that to be so tranquil. It was heavenly. So, I mean, that was, loved it. So yeah, I mean, I do love it. I love them all, if I'm honest. I do. I love all of them. But the biggest ones for me, I do think are, I mean, the tag videos are really good. And I think it's really clever, the tag videos, because the tag videos make it so that we get to know a lot more about each other in the community. And you just feel like you know them just that little bit more. So I love the tag videos as well. I mean, but I think it's the same as anything, you know, haul videos and stash videos. I think I find that they're only really good for me to watch when I know that I'm not on any type of stash diet, because I tend to find that by watching other people's goodies coming in, it makes it so that you want those goodies, which means you have to spend money. So yes. But yeah, so anyway, diverted back off, sorry about that. So yeah, so I would say in order it would be tutorial videos. No. Start again. Update videos, number 1. Tutorial videos, number 2. Stash videos, number 3. Watching someone stitch, number 4. Tag videos, number 5. And haul videos, 6. So there you go. It's not that I don't like any of them. I just think that depending on what mood I'm in will depend on what I want to watch. But obviously there are some videos that for me, I jump at them. So yeah, but I'm intrigued to find out if you're the same. You know, is it for you that it just depends on what mood you're in? Does it depend on if you're out hunting for a new project, so you want to see what other people have got? Yeah. So I've given you my answers, so I'm really looking forward to seeing all your answers. Okay, number 5. Based on this year's cross-stitching, what now is your most used tools or objects, and what now are your least used tools or objects? I haven't got that many tools or objects, but there are ones that when you first buy them you think, oh, they're going to be great, they're going to be amazing. You might use them once and then you've never seen them again. So the ones that are the most used, obviously for me, are my manilium frames. They're like my piece de resistance. My Paco needle, Paco thread organisers, because I really love them. I really get on with having the thread with the symbol right in front of it. Probably because I do a lot of heaven and earth designs. I don't do it for my mirabilia. I don't think it's got enough colours. It doesn't warrant it. But definitely for my Heaven and Earth designs, I would say anything over 25 colours, the Paco thread organiser for me is a time saver. You know, I load it up, I preload it with all my threads, all cut to size, and they're just stuck on there with the symbols on my chart. So that way I'm not having to keep, you know, pull some off the bobbin, then wrap up what's left, and then put it back in the slot in number order so that I don't end up all out of sync with my colours in my box. With this, it's, you know, I load 2 or 3 lots of 6 onto the thread organiser and just pull one thread off. I find that, for me, that works so well. What else is there? Most useful tools. So, most useful for my frames, my stands, because obviously I can only stitch two-handed, I can't stitch one-handed. So obviously without the frames and the stands, I'd be in a right mess. Yeah, the Paco thing, needle minders. So I mean, it's only really been sort of not that long ago that I've had needle minders, and they're a lifesaver. I mean, what did people do before you had needle minders? What did you do with your needle each time you took it off of a thread? Where did you put it? I have no idea how anyone survives with that needle minder. In fact, that's another question. What did people use before needle minders? What did they use, and how did they do it? What did you do with your needle? I mean, it's not like, I don't know what you would do with it. I mean, God, if you just had to sort of plonk it on the side somewhere, you'd end up losing it every 5. I mean, you'd have to have endless supplies of needles. I mean, with my needle minder, I always know that go to the needle minder, there's a needle on it. But without that needle minder, I have absolutely no idea what you do with your needle, or what you used to do with the needle before needle minders came out. So anyone that knows, I'm really interested, and I'm sure there's loads of you, because I know there are lots of you that have got years and years and years of experience of cross-stitching or embroidery or needlework. So I'm intrigued. What did you do with your needles before needle minders came out? So my most used tools is obviously my frames, my stands, my Paco thread organiser, and my needle minders. They're my most used tools. My least used tools. My least used tools, in all the time I've been stitching, these have only ever been used once. That's how useless I found them. And I've got them here because I pulled them out ready. So the first one is this. Phrase stop. I used it once on the end around the edge of one of my projects, and I hated it. It made it crunchy, it made it crispy. My thread kept getting caught on the side. I didn't like the way it had gone on the edges, and it made a lot of mess trying to get it on there to start with. So yeah, I bought it thinking it would be a great thing, and I'd save all that sewing on the side and serging, and I still end up pulling out my sewing machine because I prefer that than this. So yeah, so that doesn't get used. And the other thing is this. The bobbin winder. It just didn't work for me. In the time that it took me to stick that on the thing and have the box in front of me and stick the bobbin in it and all that jazz, it was easier for me to just wind it straight off my wrist, like the skein of floss. I put it over my wrist and just hold the bobbin in my hand and just do that and watch TV. This was just a bit technical for something as simple as loading a bobbin. So yeah, that for me was one of the least used tools. I think I used it for about 3 bobbins, and that was a lot. It never got used again. It's never come out. So they're my least used tools. Number 6. Based on your experience in 2015, do you now prefer small projects or big projects, full coverage or not? Well, I think my love for the full coverage, bigger projects is still my go-to. It really is. my Heaven and Earth designs, where you work in a 10 by 10 block, you start in the top left hand corner and work your way on, I think that's always going to be my favourite. However, I am starting to like the idea of doing some of the smaller projects of non-full coverage, purely because it would be nice to have a few more finishes. You know, I do watch you guys and all your finishes, and I sit there thinking, God, there's another one finished, and they've got another one finished, and they've got another one finished. And whenever I say anything to you, it's always, here's a whip, and here's a whip. But mine are all big. You know, there's very little that I've been working on that's been small. So yeah, I still prefer my big projects, and I still prefer the full coverage. Although this coming year, 2016, part of my rotations, or my equivalent of a rotation, will be where I can to put the odd little one in, so that I can get a finish, so I can get that yippee. Because don't get me wrong, I love my Heaven and Earth designs, and when you get to the end of it, you're like, wow, that's awesome, and it's so worth the wait. But then sometimes when you don't have a finish and it goes on for months and months and months, and you know, I see you guys, and you guys have all got finishes, and I'm sitting there going, they've all got finishes and I've got none. So yeah, so 2016, I'm going to try to pick some smaller projects so that I can get some finishes. But I think my love for the bigger full coverage pieces, they're still my love. So number 7, do you stitch cards as well as other things? Well, as you know, I did stitch with the Krennic, the prick and stick things, but I've never actually done a fabric, like the cross-stitch fabric card, as yet. So I think I need to try one of those. I just think that whenever I've gone onto some of the sites to look for a little pattern or little design to go onto a card, I don't really... There's never been anything that I've thought, oh, well, that's really cute. They're all just a bit like, you know, I don't know where you find yours. Sometimes I look at the ones that, a bit like how Caroline Mazzio does all these like cross-stitch cards, and I'm like, where does she get those little patterns from? Because I can never find them. You know, I go on so-and-so website. I mean, I go on Pinterest to see if I can find something and then try and track sort of if it's in a magazine or... But I never get anywhere with it. So I don't know. I'm going to definitely give that a go for this year coming. 2016, I will do something. But, yeah, I haven't as yet. Have you? Okay, where are we? That was number 7. Number 8. What has been your biggest accomplishment this year? My biggest accomplishment this year is faces. There she is, up there. And the starting of my first ever Mirabilia. I mean, I know we've got a bit of a drama going on with her at the minute, but for me that's a massive accomplishment to sort of move outside the box. So yeah, Mirabilia and Faces of Fury are my 2 biggest accomplishments this year. What has been the most disappointing stitching thing of 2015? Well, I think you already know what these 2 are. So the first one is the dreadful experience with the Biscano, and the fact that we didn't even really sort of get off the starting line with that as such. And the other one was the Alexandra Adelaide pattern, where, you know, where the spider come out of it and it had a nest in it and stuff. Yeah, that was... I never liked it. I never liked the fabric, and I knew because I didn't like the colours, didn't like the colour connection, that was the reason I wasn't stitching it. So yeah, I think they were my biggest disappointments of 2015. Number 10. What is the funniest moment in stitching this year? Well, that one's easy for me. That'll be beading on the train, because that was hilarious. Yeah, I think that's got to be my funniest stitching stroke beading spot ever. The looks that I got on the train when I was cross stitching, that in itself was hilarious, because people just looked at me like I was like, what on earth is she doing? Really? And then when the bead came out, well, that was it. That was uproar. And you know what? The funniest thing about it was, bearing in mind I was beading for days on the train, whenever a bead did flick off and fling around, it was always a businessman that it hit. It was never a woman. There was never just a Joe Bloggs that might have actually found it funny, like a workman that's on his way into town, like to work up as like a builder or something, who would like think it was actually funny. No, it was always the businessman, and always the stuffed up businessman who obviously didn't have a sense of humour, or maybe it was because he hadn't had his coffee that morning, I don't know. But yeah, so that for me has been my funniest moment of stitching in 2015. What was your worst moment in stitching this year? Worst moments. Well, worst moment, I think, it's definitely the when I run into my first problems on my Mirabilia, where D-Stitcher come and saved the day to help me, as well as various other really, really lovely floss tubers that contacted me to offer me assistance and to give me a bit of guidance, which was immense, guys. You know who you are. And I thank you so much, because it is so nice to know that when I'm in the middle of having a total meltdown, there were people there. There was people there to help me. But yeah, no, the whole, oh my God, I've gone wrong. I don't know what to do. I can't even find where I've gone wrong. I just know it's wrong. Yeah, that has got to be my worst experience. I mean, I actually shed a tear, gave myself a headache and had to go and lay down following that episode, before it got rectified with lots and lots and lots of help from D-Stitcher and a couple of other people. So yeah, that is definitely my worst moment. Okay, so question 12. If you was put on an island in the middle of nowhere, what 5 stitchy things would you have as must-haves? See, now this one was really tricky when I was thinking about this, because you think 5 things is enough. But then you've got to think, well, if you're on an island in the middle of nowhere, it's the basic stuff is a must. So, needles. You need needles or you can't stitch. So my 5 things that I came up with was a suitcase of floss and fabric, a manilium frame, needles, and because obviously if I've landed on a island in the middle of nowhere, I must have come off a ship, so I'm going to say a chest of charts. That's my 5 things. So if you was put on an island in the middle of nowhere, what would be your 5 must-have things for stitching? And question number 13, I threw this one in there because I thought it would be interesting just to see what everybody says. Which floss tubers would you have on your island with you, and why? And I'm going to say you need to pick 4 floss tubers. So which 4 would you pick? So I will say that the 4 people that I would take on my desert island with me would be Caroline Mazzio, because she can fix anything and she knows everything and she's adorable and she's Australian, so I like the accent. I could listen to her all day and she could fix any drama that I've got going on. Donna Murray, because me and Donna have already got a connection, so I know that she's a really, really good friend. She knows when I'm having a drama, she knows if I'm in a crappy mood, she knows if I'm having a Teresa meltdown, and she's so much fun. We sit on Skype sometimes and we can just sit and chuckle and giggle, and not much stitching happens in the end because we just sit there putting the world to rights and laughing all the time. So Donna Murray would be number 2. D-Stitcher, because she would be like the mummy. So D-Stitcher is like an amazing person. I mean, I'm in awe of Dee. She is like the mothers of all mothers. She's a wonderful, wonderful lady. She does the most amazing stitching, has so much of it, on top of the fact that she's got all them lovely babies that she looks after and children. on top of which she looks after all of us. So whenever there's a drama or there's a problem, she's there. You know, as soon as you post something, it's like, oh no, I'm having a problem. She's like, well, you know, what do you need? Can I help you? She is like the most helpful person I've ever met in my life. And she will put herself out for absolutely everybody. So yeah, so D Stitcher will be my number 3. And then you've just got to have one that's funny, hilarious, right out there. Especially for me, I need someone to bounce off sometimes. I mean, I am a bubbly, happy person, I would say 98% of the time. But I always like to be around people that are equally as happy, optimistic and bubbly. They sort of bring out the best of my nature. So I think my 4th person would be Sandra Parker. I think it's wicked stitchery. Yeah. She is just so much fun, you know, and she is hilarious. I mean, you know, the faces she pulls, the things she says, that have me in stitches, and you just know when you sort of, when there's likelihood to be someone that, you know, is on your wavelength that you could actually have a really good laugh with, you know, whether it's be stitch related or not stitch related. So I would say my 4th person would be Sandra Parker. So yeah, so there you go. There's all the tag questions. I think there's 13 in total. I decided to do the tag because I thought it would be a really, really good thing to do for end of 2015 going into 2016. I'm intrigued to hear sort of, you know, your experiences of the year, and I thought these questions would be the types of questions that I'd love to hear your answers to, because they're the sort of questions that I've asked myself. And some of those questions have been really hard even for me to answer, even though you sort of sit there and think, well, I know exactly what that one is, that's that, that and that. But there's a lot of the questions that I thought, and I've thought, do you know what? Oh yeah, I just, you know, you watch flosstube, you're within the community, and you sometimes forget the things that you've learned of others, the things where the community itself gives back. So, and I like that, but I like to share that with you. I like to share the fact that, you know, it's not just a bunch of people that have got the same hobby and we all just like to be nosy and see what the other one's doing. There is so much information and friendships that get bounced backwards and forwards within flosstube. That throughout the course of a year, without really realising it, you've made new friends. You've learnt something new. You've took on board what someone else has had or what they've got going on, and you then sort of think, oh, you know, that happened to so and so I don't want to do that, and just in case that happens. You know, and the tricks, the tips, the advice, and you don't even realise it, but when you're watching these flosstube videos, just in general passing of conversation of, you know, a drama that they've had in the week, will give you a bit of information about what not to do or be mindful of, rather than us all having to face the same problems. And that's what I like about this community, is for the whole year, we've all been watching videos, we've all been communicating with each other, you know, we're all making new friends. But at the end of the year, when I've reflected back, it's like, I've learnt so much this year. I've learnt so much this year. I have gained some really, really lovely, lovely friends. And I don't mean friends that you pop round and have a cup of tea with. I mean friends that when you're having a drama or something's gone wrong or you're not sure, and you put the question out there to the wider audience, you know, to the flosstube community, everybody comes back. You know, even those that are, you know, are behind on the flosstube videos, and they, you know, they don't answer for like 2 months, and all of a sudden it's like, oh, I'm so sorry I haven't looked to your video until now. But just in case, this is what I would do in this situation. That, I think, it's lovely. It's lovely. And I thought that it was important that I shared with you, you know, some bits of 2015 that I've learned from the flosstube community. And also just so that you can see sort of the sorts of things that run through my mind at the end of a year. So anyway, obviously all the questions I'm going to post below. I'd love to hear your answers. For those that have got floss tubes, you know, are floss tubers, answer my tags, because I'm really intrigued to find out what your answers are to the questions. For those that don't actually post their videos, please comment below. You know I love my comments. I do try to answer absolutely everybody, so you might have to bear with me if I don't answer you straight away, because obviously it's the festive season and, you know, there's a requirement that I have to sort of consist with family moments. Although there's not really going to be that much going on this year, is there? What with me being fairly laid up, and I do have to spend a lot of time laying in bed. I don't think that's really conducive to family life. Is I'll just scream and shout at people from my bedroom like, hi! That's about as sociable as I'm going to be this year. But yeah, I love answering people's questions. I love the comments. Massive thank you to everybody for all your help, support, and the love in the community for 2015. I haven't really got plans as such for 2016. I might decide to have plans for, you know, January, in which case I'll share them with you. But right now, I've not really had a chance to sort of sit and think about, you know, what my plans are for 2016. Okay, so that's it from me. For those people that celebrate Christmas, I wish you a very Merry Christmas. And I will be back in 2016. And I wish you all very well. And a Happy New Year to you all. And let's see what 2016 brings us all. So, on that note, I'll see you in 2016.